Sedra, we have brachos, blessings. In every aliyah, everyone who recites the brachos by the Sefer Torah, there's a bracha for every one of them. The Kohen, so we read for him, Hashem said to Yitzchak, I will bless you. Then starts Shani, and we call up the Levi, and we read about the blessing that Yitzchak received. Yitzchak planted there. Hashem blessed him. Then we call up Shlishi. In Shlishi, we do not have the word bracha. We do not have the word bracha feirish. It isn't spelled out there as a bracha, but we do have a very profound bracha. Vayomer ki ata hechav Hashem lanu, Rabbeinu Shloim has given us wideness. It means He has blessed us with spaciousness. Ufarinu ba'aretz, and we shall prosper in the land. This is a blessing. Reviyi, Rabbeinu Shloim says, Atira, Kitcha anaychi uveirachticha, I will bless you. And Reviyi finishes off, Ata Baruch Hashem, you are blessed. In Chamishi. So we have that Yitzchak told Esav, bring me delicacies, so that I shall bless you. And Chamishi finishes off that Vayarech Esayach Begadav. Yitzchak was aware that the son of Gan Eden came in with Yankov, Vayavarachayu, and he blessed him. In Shishi, we have the blessing. And it finishes off, those who bless you are blessed. That's in Shishi. In Shviyi, we have that Yitzchak blessed Yankov. So every one of them, every aliyah today in Parshas toldos has a blessing. And toldos is the sixth Sedra. It's a sixth Sedra. The number 6 is related to blessing at all times. The number 6 is a blessed number, and it has a shaykhis to blessing. And wherever there's blessing involved, we very often find it in terms of 6. Like when the Jews were blessed in Mitzrayim with an abundance of children, they had 6 children at a time. Blessing is 6. The 6th of the Ushpizin is Yosef. And Yosef is the one whose blessing is doubled. He has 2 Shvatim came out of him rather than 1, like all the other Shvatim. In fact, the root of the word blessing, Baraich, to bless, is always a doubling. Because Aleph means 1. Base is a doubling. Base is 2. In other words, from 1 we have 2. A chaf is also the same thing, except that it's in 2 digits. Chaf is 20. A reish is also the same thing, except that it's in 3 digits. A reish is 200. So bareich, to bless, is 2 and 20 and 200. This is the root of the word bracha, to bless. And Yosef had that. He had 2 shvatim rather than 1. And he is the blessing. And therefore, it is, by Hasidim, it's accepted that the most important aliyah, which they usually give the Rabbanim or the Rebbes, is Shishi, the 6th aliyah, because that's the aliyah of blessing. And those of you who spent Simchas Torah and Emunas Yisrael probably have noticed that the hakafa on which we put more emphasis on than any other hakafa is the 6th hakafa. That's when all the simcha and the dancing and the being jolly, that's all during the 6th hakafa. Because the 6th contains blessing. And toldos, being the 6th hakafa, the 6th sedra, refers to blessing of children, and the name of the sedra is toldos, children. And so every aliyah has a blessing there. I've counted how many times we have the word baracha or baraich, or any word which comes from the root of baracha in toldos, and there are 32, which is an enormous number for one sedra. The whole sedra is just full of blessing. And when we are approaching this Shabbos Pashas toldos, we should endeavor to make ourselves a receptacle fitting for the blessing of the sedra, the blessings of the sedra. You know, sometimes a person can take in a lot in himself and he has nothing because he has a hole in his pocket. So, for the acceptance of brachos, we need shleimus. There should be no hole. It should be complete. And therefore, the last bracha of Shmoneh Esrei, of the 18 brachas, is shalom, because shalom is a keli. That's how the last Mishnah in Mishnayos ends off. The keli, the receptacle which contains bracha, is shalom. So therefore, after all the brachas, the last bracha is shalom. And in Birchas Kayanim also, Yivrachach Hashem v'Yisrael. And the last word in Birchas Kayanim is also shalom. So we should pray. This is something which Klal Yisrael needs today. In this Parshas toldos, we should pray to Hashem there should be shalom among Yidden. The last week we started talking about Emunah. I was going to continue, however, I decided that I'm going to put this on hold and wait until the sedras that relate more to Emunah will come, like the sedras of Yetzias Mitzrayim and Matan Torah. That's where we can actually find it in the sedra. So in this week's sedra, we have in the beginning that Yitzchak had 2 children, Yaakov and Esav, and Esav was different than Yaakov. Vahi Esav ish yadei atzayid ish sada. Esav was a street person, a woods person. He went hunting in the woods, and Yaakov was Yaisha Veihalim. sat in the Smadrash and learned Torah. And for some reason, Yitzchak was more fond of Esav. Vayehav Yitzchak es Esav ketzayid b'fiv. Yitzchak loved Esav, he was fond of Esav, ketzayid b'fiv, because hunting is in his mouth. And Rashi says tzayid b'fiv means that he deceived his father, just like a hunter tricks an animal into the net, into the trap. So, tzayid b'fiv, he just like hunted his father and got him into his net. And Yanka, and the Onkelos says, ki tzayid b'fiv harai mitzayidei havi ochel. Because why was Yitzchak fond of Esav? Because he ate from his hunting. Esav went hunting, and he brought venison or whatever it was to Yitzchak for his food, and Yitzchak enjoyed that food, and therefore he was very fond of Esav. And well, that's difficult to understand. That Yitzchak, the revered Yitzchak, should be fond of Esav and give him preference over Yankov because he brings him a steak. I can't buy that. We can't accept that. And so what does Onkelos mean with Kitzayid B'fiv? And what does it mean that Esav manipulated Yitzchak, according to Rashi's Pshat, he manipulated Yitzchak and he hunted him. Yitzchak certainly is such a great tzaddik and such a great gaon and kadosh. He can't be deceived by people like Esav. It would be very underestimating. Sure. It would be a gross underestimation of Yitzchak that Esav would be able to manipulate him. Just like a hunter manipulates the animal and tricks it into the trap. And the same thing we have was when Yankov received the brachas from Yitzchak. So Yitzchak tells Esav, go out in the woods and hunt me a hunting so that I will eat and enjoy and I will bless you. And he can't bless him without eating and enjoying first. And this is the reward of Esav, because you gave me a good dish to enjoy. That's why you received the brachas in favor of Yankov, the real true tzaddik. And so we see a repetition of the same thing by the brachas. But let's go first back to the beginning of the Seder. In the beginning of the Seder, Yankov receives the Bechayra, the benefits of being firstborn. He bought it off Esav for bread and a plate of lentils, of cooked lentils. And what happened was that day Avraham Avinu was nifter. Avraham Avinu died that day, like the Medrash and Rashi tell us. And Avraham Avinu, being that he passed away that day, and it's customary that the first meal which the mourners eat is not from their own home. Somebody brings them. So therefore, Yankov brought Yitzchak something to eat. And it's customary that this particular food, which is prepared for the mourner, is something which has the character of mourning. So he brought him lentils which are round. Something which is round relates to mourning. And that's why by the Seder dish we have the egg, the round egg, because we mourn about the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash. Because on whichever day of the week the first day of Pesach falls, that's when Tisha B'Av will fall. Like last year, it was on Shabbos. The first day of Pesach was Shabbos, so Tisha B'Av also came out of Shabbos. And of course, we pushed it off for Sunday, because on Shabbos we don't fast. But that's why we eat egg, and we have it on the Seder dish. So this is the kind of food that Yankov prepared for his grandfather's morning time. This was the first seudah, the first meal that Yitzchak ate. And Esav came from the field, v'hu ayef, and he was hungry, he was starving. But Rashi says that ayef means that he did 5 aveiros that day. Among his aveiros was murder. He killed Nimrod because he coveted the suit which Nimrod was wearing, which was the suit which Hashem has made for Adam Arishain when he needed clothing. And this was a suit of clothing that Nimrod was wearing, and Esav wanted that because it would have helped him in attracting the animals to himself. It was a very enticing suit, so it would make his hunting more easy. And he killed Nimrod, and for that reason. So, besides, that day, Esav expressed his disbelief in Tchias HaMeisim, that the dead will arise when the time comes and will become alive again. And this is one of the 13 ikrim, the 13 roots of belief, and which we recite on Simchas Torah, if you remember. And the last one is Ani Mamen B'Emunah Shleima, I believe with a perfect faith, B'Tchias HaMeisim, that the dead will arise alive. And Esav, and that day, has declared his disbelief in this ikar, in this root of belief. He said, Hini Anochi Hayalech Lamus, I'm going to die, and that's going to be the end, the absolute end, and I don't need the b'chayr. I won't get up alive again and utilize this b'chayr. So, which rendered Esav an apokairos. An apokairos means one who doesn't believe in any of the 13 principles of faith, the Yud Gimel Ikrim. And an apokairos is one that if he touches wine, we can't drink that wine. It's like a guy. If he shechts, if he slaughters an animal, even if everything would be according to the ritual, according to the halachas of shechita, we can't eat that animal. It's treif. So this happened when both these Yankov and Esav were boys. So I'm wondering, how is it possible that all these years Esav went hunting and brought meat for Yitzchak, and Yitzchak ate that meat, even if Esav would have shechted it with all the dinim necessary for shechita, still it's treif, it's nevela. Again, let's go back to the beginning of the Seder. And Esav came, and he was starving, and he said, give me, let me partake of this red food, this lentil soup, which you have prepared. And Yankov gave it to him in exchange for the prayer. So the pasuk says, "Vayigdalu ana'arim." The boys grew up. Vayi Esav yidei yatzai yidish saga. Yankov ishtam yaisha vayhalim. So why does it say the boys grew up? So Rashi says that as long as they were small, no one paid attention to their traits, to their characteristics, whether one is a tzaddik, one is a rasha. They're small boys. But when they grew up, so Rashi says, when they became 13 years old, which means vayigdalu, they grew up, they became gedalim. It was very evident that's the day when the Yetzer Tov comes into a person. Yankov made his way to the Beis HaMedrash to learn Torah. V'zeh pirish l'Avodah Zarah, and Esav went to the Avodah Zarah and to the fields. Now, so Rashi says vayigdalu anara means when they became 13 years old. Which is very difficult. This is contradicted by a little arithmetic in the parasha, like the Mefarshim make us aware of that. According to the Cheshbon, if that was the day that Avraham Avinu passed away, so they were definitely 15 years old, not 13. Couldn't be. Shall I go into the arithmetic very briefly? That Avraham Avinu was 100 years old when Yitzchak was born, and Yitzchak was 60 years old. It says in today's Seder, "V'Yitzchak ben Shishim shana b'ledasai." The pasuk tells us b'feirish and v'yayira that when Avraham Avinu was 100 years old, Yitzchak was born. Pasuk tells us b'feirish that when Yankov and Esav was born, when these two twins were born, Yitzchak was 60, which makes Avraham Avinu 160 years old. Now, 13 years later, when these boys became bar mitzvah, that means Avraham Avinu was 173 years old. But the pasuk tells us b'feirish and Chayei Sarah that when Avraham Avinu passed away, he was 175 years old. So that means that they were 15. Why does Rashi say that they were 13? So therefore, some Mefarshim have it that there's a misprint here in the Rashi. It's supposed to be B'nai Tezvav Shana when they were 15 years old. But that's difficult to understand. If they were 15 years old and it's really a misprint, so why does the pasuk say Vayigdalu anarim? The boys became gedalim. The boys grew up. Because a gadol one becomes when he's 13 years old, not when he's 15. In Melachim, we have that Eliyahu Hanavi had a Talmud, Elisha. And Elisha requested from his Rebbe, from Eliyahu Hanavi, that he wants to have double the spirit, double the Ruach HaKodesh of Eliyahu. Yehina pishnayim beruchach ha'olai. I want to be double as you are. So Eliyahu Hanavi told him, if you are going to be fortunate to see me taken away from you, then you will have that. What I'm wondering is, if I have $100 you can ask me for $100. But if I have but $100, you can't ask me for $200. I can't give you what I haven't got. So if Eliyahu Navi is as big as he is, and Elisha says, I want to be, please grant me, I should be double what you are, how can Eliyahu Navi give him what he hasn't got himself? And actually, and why did he answer him, if you're going to see me taken away from you? And so it happened. That day that Eliyahu Navi was taken away from earth, and he rose like an angel to the heavens in a chariot and horses of fire, Elisha looked on, and he became twice Eliyahu Navi. And whatever feats of prophecy or miracles we find by Eliyahu Navi, we find exactly double that amount by Elisha. Why? Why was not Eliyahu Navi able to give him to fulfill his request only on the day when he passes up? And why yes? Now the idea is like this. Moshe Rabbeinu said on the day of his passing away, today I'm 120 years old. So the Mefarshim, the Sfarim explain, the Agar de Kala, the Bnei Yissaschar explains that in the day of a person's death, all his days come back to him. We look at time as a certain way of measuring things, of measuring what happened in time. Time is a beriah. Time is a creation. Time isn't something which is abstract. Time is a creation. Reishis bara lekim. The Rebbeinu Shalom created time. And every day, a new day comes down. That day goes up in heaven at the end of the day. And the new day comes down for each person. The Zohar Kaddish tells us that. And whatever a person does on that day is inscribed on that day. At the end of the day, that day goes up. And therefore, if a person did something wrong during the day, it's easier for him to do tshuva at night, just before he goes to sleep, by Kriyas Shalamita, before the day goes up. Because once it goes up, it'll be hard for him to get it down and erase what was inscribed on it and make amends. So, at the end of the week goes up. At the end of the year goes up. And before the end of the week, Erev Shabbos, before the end of the year, Erev Rosh Hashanah, there's a time for tshuva. Erev Rosh Chodesh, Yom Kippur Katan. So, the Zohar says that when Avraham Avinu became old, all his days were complete. There wasn't one day which was not beseder, which wasn't as it should be. The Avram came, when Avram became old, the Zohar says, Babayanim, he came with all his days. All his days were complete. Every day was inscribed with mitzvahs and ma'asim tovim, without aveiros. So, when a person is niftar, just before his neshama passes out, all the days come down to him, and they welcome him, and they escort him up to where he's supposed to go. That's what the Zohar tells us. So therefore, that day when Moshe Rabbeinu was niftar, he says, today I have all my 120 years. So that's why he was so great on that day. On that day, the pasuk says, Moshe, the man of God, the godly man. That distinction is never given to him except on that day. Ish Elokim, the godly man. because that day he was very great. So when Eli Hanavi in his normal days was as big as he is on that day, but on the day when Eli Hanavi passes up in the fiery chariots with the fiery horses, on that day he's much, much bigger, because then all the days come to welcome him and escort him up above. So on that day he could give Elisha twice of what he normally is, because he's much more than that on that day. In the Drashis Chasam Sofer, the Drashis, which the Chasam Sofer said for his congregation, so there is a hesped, there's a lamentation on the passing away of the Chasam Sofer's Rebbe, Rabbi Nosson Adler, who was a very, very great and holy man. And the Chasam Sofer is sorry. He grieves the fact that he was not Zoiche, he didn't have the fortune to be at his Rebbe's bedside when he passed away. The Chasam Sofer writes, if I would have been at my Rebbe's bedside, I would have been twice him. Just like Elisha and Eliyahu. He was a very devoted Talmud, and he would have been Zoiche to that. Now, the Gemara says in Chagiga, Rabbi Yeshua ben Chananya, one of the great Tanaim, usually had debates with the priests, with the Galachim, debates in faith issues, and he always came out superior. And he was very good at that. They tried to bring out the fact that the Jewish faith is lacking, and that you have to believe like the Goyim did, and he always came out the victor in the debate. Rabbi Yeshua ben Chananya was about to die, and his Talmidim were weeping. Rabbi, what's going to be when the Goyim are going to come to debate with us? Who is going to take them on? There's no replacement for you, Rabbi. So Rabbi Yeshua ben Chananya said, don't worry. Don't worry. The pasuk says that when Yankov met Esav in Vayishlach, Ne'elecha v'nissa ve'elecha l'negdecha, I'm going to go towards you, negdecha. And the Gemara says, so Rabbi Yeshua ben Chananya explains, that means that the tzaddik always has a counterpart which is his opposition, a balanced opposition. If there is a big tzaddik in a given generation, there is a Rasha who is his match in that same generation. If he's a smaller tzaddik, the match will also be a smaller one. But every tzaddik has his distinct opposition, somebody who's the exact opposite of him, somebody who opposes him, somebody who battles him. No tzaddik has a picnic in this world. It's a life of struggle. He has to struggle against the opposing Rasha, who is his balance, who keeps the scale balanced, so that there should be an even bechir, an even choice between good and bad. So Rabbi Yeshua ben Chananya says, don't worry, if I'm going to go away, they also are going to lose their prowess, and they are going to be a match only for those who are available to oppose them. So every tzaddik has his opposing enemy whose platform is the exact opposite of that tzaddik's. Avraham Avinu was certainly in his days the greatest tzaddik on earth. He had his opposing enemy who preached from a platform whose platform was the exact opposite of Avraham Avinu. his arch enemy. That was Nimrod. Avraham Avinu preached that there is one God. Nimrod said, no, I am God. Avraham Avinu went around all over, and he made it his business not to keep his emunah, his faith, to himself, but he went from place to place, and he spread that belief. Nimrod did the opposite. Nimrod went all around spreading disbelief in Hashem. And Chazal tell us that's why it's called Nimrod. Nimrod comes from the word mered, rebellion. He made it his business in life to spread rebellion against the Rabbeinu Shalom, against the King of all kings. So the opposing enemy, the antagonist of Avraham Avinu in his time, was Nimrod. And our Seder, we see a very interesting thing, that on the day that Avraham Avinu was niftar, on that same day Nimrod was killed. Because if Avraham Avinu isn't there, then Nimrod has no more place on earth either. There has to be a balance of the Rasha not bigger than the Tzaddik. Yankov Avinu, in his days, he certainly was the biggest tzaddik. Who was the counterpart in Tumah against the Kedusha of Yankov? Definitely Esav. Huh? His brother. Yeah. The entire life of Yankov was a battle against Esav. And when Yankov was niftar, he was still on earth, but because it took 70 days to bring him from Mitzrayim to Eretz Yisrael to inter him in the Maras HaMachpelah. And, well, that's the day that he left earth. On that same day, Esav was killed. Like the Gemara tells us in Saita, that when they were about to bury Yankov, Esav came and he says, half of the Maras HaMachpelah belongs to me. So he told him, look, but you sold it to our father because Yankov gave Esav riches to buy off his part in Maras HaMachpelah. Esav denied it. So Naphtali, who was a very swift runner, ran to Mitzrayim to get the deed, to get the contract where Esav signed that he's selling his portion of the Maras HaMachpelah. And they waited for him to come back. And Husham, the son of Dan, the Gemara tells us in Saita, said, why are we waiting here? So they told him, because we're waiting for the contract, and Esav is keeping up the works. Oh yeah? So Husham ben Dan took his sword and just chopped off Esav's head, and the head rolled down into the Maras HaMachpelah. So that same day when Yankov left this earth, that same day Esav went away. If Yankov isn't here, there's no place for Esav on earth, because there has to be a balance. So it was that day that Avraham Avinu was niftar, that Esav had to leave the scene. That Nimrod had to leave the scene. And who killed him? Esav. And where was Yankov at that time? The whole family was around the bedside of Avraham Avinu, who was preparing to leave, and he said his last words to his family, and Yankov was there. Being that was the last day of Avraham Avinu, all the Baba Yomim, all the great holy full days of Avodas Hashem, of worshipping Hashem, came down. 175 complete years. They were all in that room. They came to welcome and take along Avraham Avinu to his place. there was a sphere of utmost kedusha, terrific kedusha, much more than what Avram Avinu experienced in any normal day. Whoever was in that room, and he was susceptible to that kedusha, certainly absorbed a lot. Just like Elisha absorbed in the day when his Rabbi Eliyahu went up. So Yaakov became very great in kedusha that day. Let's move on and change the scene. That same day, we find Esav chopping off Nimrod's head. And what happened? Nimrod died. Who came to welcome the neshama of Nimrod? All the black, filthy malachim that were created by his aveiros, hordes and hordes of them. They all came to grab Nimrod and inflict upon him all punishments that he deserved. And oh, was that terrible. And there was so much tumah there. Of all the aveiros that Esav did, that Nimrod did, all during the years of his life, starting off with the Daya Haflaga all the way down. And there was an awful atmosphere of tumah, and when the dead Nimrod was lying on the ground. And who is susceptible to this tumah? Who is magnetic to this tumah? A person like Esav. So he absorbed all that tumah, and he became a profound Rasha at that day, much more than he ever was. So that was the birthday present of these two boys. Yaakov became a profound tzaddik at that day, because he was at the bedside of the departing Yitzchak, and Esav became a profound Rosh at that day, because he was at the graveside of the dead Nimrod, whom he killed. That's what the Pasuk says. Vayigdalu Ana'arim, both became big that day. They were 15 years old, but they became big that day. Zala Rishai v'Zala Tumai. Esav became big in awful cruelty, sin, tumah. He had a defiled nefesh that day, and v'Zala Tumai. And Yaakov absorbed so much kedusha, so much tahava on that day. So, it was on that day that Yaakov said, being Esav, my brother, that you are so tamei today. Well, brother Esav, what do you need your b'chayre? Today, it was a very momentous day for both of us. This day is a landmark in our lives. And according to what this day produced for both of us, you have no business bearing the b'chayra. What do you need it for? So Yaakov said, Michra kayayim es b'chayras chali. Kayayim, sell me according to the very nature of this day. The day. This day is the day that dictates that you shouldn't have the b'chayra and you should sell it to me. So that's what happened on that day. There are two philosophies in life. The philosophy of the tzaddik and the philosophy of the rasha. The philosophy of the tzaddik is expressed in the pasuk, philosophy of the tzaddik is expressed in the pasuk, Asher Anochi Mitzaveh Eschem Hayom La'asaisam. The Rabbeinu Shalom commands you this day, Hayom, today, La'asaisam, to do the. Today you do the mitzvahs, and tomorrow you will accept the reward for the mitzvahs in the world to come. There is the Hayom and the Macha, the today and the tomorrow. For the tzaddik, today means to do mitzvahs. Tomorrow means to be rewarded for the mitzvahs. Olam haba. That's the philosophy of the tzaddik. The philosophy of the Rasha is like the Navi puts it. Achal v'shasei hayom ki macha namas. Let's eat and drink today because tomorrow we're going to die. Let's enjoy it while we last. They don't care about the tomorrow. They don't believe in the tomorrow. So therefore, this is what Yankov told Esav. We have two different philosophies. We have opposing philosophies in the Hayom. I believe that today we do mitzvahs and tomorrow we get schal. We get the reward. So Michra Kayim, according to my philosophy of Hayom, which is Hayom La'asaisam U'Lamacha L'Kabel Scharam, as opposed to your philosophy, which is eat and drink today, indulge, enjoy, Kimacha Namas, because tomorrow we're going to be dead. And that's going to be the end of it. So according to this philosophy, you don't need the B'chayr and I need it. So Esav said, yeah, that's right. Wow, you're right. I believe that I'm going to die. And he expresses disbelief in Tchias HaMeisim. Well, according to my philosophy, I don't need the B'chayr. So Esav was the Rasha. And let's jump and skip over quite a number of years. And Esav was instructed by Yitzchak, go and get me good food, go hunting, bring me good food, and I will give you the blessing. But tzaddik isn't particularly interested in good food. Not because the tzaddik doesn't enjoy life. The tzaddik enjoys life. He relishes every moment of life because he knows that life is so good and dear and sweet. He can learn Torah and feel the Kiheim Chayenu v'Yairech Yameinu. He can feel the sweetness of Torah, of mitzvahs. He enjoys it so much. The tzaddik enjoys life. He enjoys a mitzvah. And when he eats, he doesn't really, I'm speaking about the real tzaddikim, not by ordinary people like you and I. I'm speaking about the real great tzaddikim. So when he eats, he doesn't even hear or doesn't take notice of the taste of the food. He measures food. He measures how palatable food is by how much kedusha there is in that food, and he knows how to feel it. It's a very famous story that the Yismach Moshe, that's the great-grandfather of the previous Satmar Rav. His Rebbetzin, his wife, had to go away in a certain night to a chasna or whatever, and she told her husband, maybe you can do me a favor and serve yourself supper, I'm going to be away. Well, sure, why not? So she says the pot will be on the oven. So the pot of food was on the oven. And also on the same oven, there was a dirty pot with some soap water and suds in it, of course, kosher soap. And which she left there so that it should soften down the dirt, so that it should be able to be cleaned easier later. The Yismach Moshe, he made a mistake. He took the wrong pot and warmed it up and served himself a plate of suddy water and soap. And he ate that for supper. His wife comes back. No, did you take supper? Yeah. How was it? Good, good. And then she discovers that he took the soap instead of the... he didn't know the difference. Tzaddikim don't pay any attention to these things. They have something more lofty than good-tasting food in their life. Yitzchak didn't care for the food and how it tastes. There is kedusha in the food to the extent of how it's prepared. If the mother, the wife, cooks food with good kavanas and she takes care that everything should be kosher, and she purchases her food in a way that she is 100% sure that it's kosher, and she prepares it that way, and especially if she has in mind that it should be nutrition for her husband and children, so that they should be able to serve Hashem and be healthy, especially if that food is prepared for Shabbos, and she says L'kavod Shabbos Kodesh when she prepares the food. So Kedusha goes into that food. While we're in Golus yet, to the Beis Mikdash will be built up, the most holy food that we eat is matzah on Pesach. Why is matzah so holy? Because we prepare it with the preparation for the mitzvah. And when we bake it, when we knead it, when we bake it, even when we cut off the wheat from the field, we say, L'shem matzahs mitzvah. And we keep on repeating it. Do you ever see matzahs being baked? L'shem matzahs mitzvah. So that kedusha goes into the matzah. And then when you eat the matzah and you make the bracha over the matzah, al achilas matzah al lechem min haaretz, the matzah is full of emunah. Matzah is emunah food. And whatever we eat at Pesach V'nach by the Seder, especially in the times of the Korban Pesach, how did a Korban Pesach become Kadosh? By reciting the words L'shem Pesach. This animal is a Pesach. It became holy. So holy that if somebody were to eat it outside of Yerushalayim, he's chayiv. He's supposed to eat it only in Yerushalayim, and only when he's tahor. If he eats it when he's tahor, he's chayiv kadosh, because his words made it holy. It made it hekdesh. And the shechita of the kayin and the zrikas adam, everything what was done, renders it a very holy food. So when somebody eats it, he absorbs a lot of kedusha. What happened was, I say that what happened was, all these years, since the day that Asa became an apikairis, when in his 15th birthday, all these years, Yankov prepared food, maybe with Rivka's help, for Yitzchak. And he used to tell his brother, Esav, what do you have to bother preparing the food for Daddy? I'll do it, you go and hunt. And with that, Yankov spared aggravation to Yitzchak. Because if Esav would have shechted that animal, and he was a mummer, he was not apikairis, it would have been treif. Yitzchak, when such food would be brought in, Yitzchak would immediately sense that it's treif. He wouldn't eat it. The Gemara says that by the big tzaddikim, even their animals don't eat what's not kosher. The donkey of Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair didn't eat something which needed Trumais Mainzus Medrabanan. It refused to eat it. It knew it's not supposed to eat it. An animal is allowed to eat it, but not Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair's animal. So Koshkin, a tzaddik like Yitzchak, I've seen people, and I heard from them very wonderful stories about this, the way they saw tzaddikim. They actually saw how tzaddikim know what you can eat and what not. Meir Osofsky is the one that used to, this Chostayra didn't come to us, but he always sings this Vada, with that iron voice, So his father is a good friend of mine. He's a big tzaddik, and he's living in Williamsburg. And I used to, when I was a young man, I used to go to his father with some other young men to learn from him, Avdas Hashem, how to learn correctly and daven correctly. So he was a Slonim Chassid. The Slonim Rebbe came to Eretz Yisrael. So many times of Meir Osofsky, Reb Leib Osofsky, Meir's father, told me this story, and I know many such stories, but I'm just telling you one, that he saw with his own eyes. When the Slonim Rebbe was in Eretz Yisrael, he came there for a visit, so he used to dine every night with his Chassidim at a different house. So once he told, there was a certain Jew over there in Yerushalayim who was a God-fearing person. He was a Yerei Shamayim with one chesaron. In Yerushalayim, almost everybody wore a beard, and this person had no beard. All right, you can be an Alachid without a beard, but by Hasidim, they considered it even better if you do have a beard. If you shave correctly, Api Halacha, there's nothing wrong with it, but it certainly gives more Kedusha to have a beard. But in Yerushalayim, almost everybody wore a beard. That was about 50 or 60 years ago. So one day, the Slonim Rebbe says to this Jew, this God-fearing man, let's call him Chaim Yankel. I don't know his name. We'll call him Chaim Yankel for convenience. So he says, Chaim Yankel, we're going to eat supper by you tonight. Oh, Chaim Yankel is very happy that he has the privilege of hosting the Rebbe and his Chassidim. And they came, and they served fish. This Chaim Yankel was a very poor man. And he sort of had his neighbors help him prepare the supper. He couldn't manage financially to do it himself. And they served the fish, and it was served in front of the Rebbe, and the Rebbe talks and talks and talks, and he doesn't eat. Then he says, and everybody else had fish, but they were waiting for the Rebbe to first to partake. Then he says, Chaim Yankel, by Chassidim, it's a custom that everybody eats from one plate. Maybe you got a big plate. So Chaim Yankel, instead of answering, looks at another person who was a nice-looking Jew with a long beard up to his belt, and he just looks at him. So the Rebbe says, why are you looking at him? Why don't you answer me? He says, I'll tell you, Rebbe, I don't have enough plates to serve for the Rebbe and his Chassidim. I borrowed plates from that man. So if you ask me for a big plate, I looked at him if he has a big plate to offer. So the Rebbe says to that man, tell me, these are your plates? Yes. Are they getayvelt? Were they immersed in the mikveh? So he says, no, but some paskim say that you don't have to immerse plates in a mikveh. Which is true. It depends what kind of plates. So the Rebbe says, looking back at Chaim Yankov, you know the difference between you and that Jew? When you're going to come, after your 120 years, you're going to come into the Kisei HaKavod, to the Kisei HaMishpat, they're going to ask you, Jew, where is your beard? When he comes, they're going to say, beard, where is your Jew? He saw that it's not Ketayevot. That tzaddik was able to tell that it's not Ketayevot. I know many such stories, but time is marching on. So Yitzchak wouldn't have eaten from that. Yankov wanted to Yankov wanted to spare Yitzchak from this aggravation. So Yankov said, you know what? I'll prepare the food. And of course, Yankov prepared it with Kedusha. I am being Mikayim the mitzvah of Kibbutz, and perhaps Rivka helped him with that. And this is the food which Esav brought in to Yitzchak all these years. So Yitzchak tasted the food, and he sensed a big Kedusha in that food. And he was wondering, what's with this boy? He goes around the whole day hunting, he like a tramp, and doesn't learn. And I feel a big Kedusha in the food which he prepares. What's going on over here? Oh, I know what's going on. This Esav is a concealed tzaddik. He's a Lamed Vavnik, one of the 36 concealed tzaddikim. He poses as somebody who isn't a tzaddik, as a hunter, but he really is a tzaddik, and a concealed tzaddik, somebody who doesn't show it, is even bigger than a revealed tzaddik. So that's why Yitzchak was more fond of Esav than of Yankov. But there was a reason for that, because Yankov really prepared that food. Along came a certain Pesach at night, when Rivka was told the Nevuah that she must send Yankov. She was a Nevuah, she was a prophet. Rivka was told that she must send Yankov to take the brachas. The Targum says it befeirish. Alai Esama ben Nevuah. It was told me by Nevuah, I want you to listen to me. You must listen to a Navi. You have to obey. So that's why Yankov was compelled to go in and take the brachas against his will. The Navi says so. So that day he didn't prepare the food to help out Esav, because it was against the Nevuah. He has to prepare the food and bring it in himself to Yitzchak. And he brought it in, and it was on the matzah which he baked, and the korban Pesach which he prepared, was with so much Kedusha that the Medrash says, Rashi brings it, that he felt that the Yitzchak thought the Gan Eden is coming in. And Esav went hunting, and he couldn't find anything, the Targum Yonason says. So he found a dying dog, and he prepared that for his father. And when he brought in his food, Yitzchak felt the Gehenna coming in. So that's what happened on that day. So the Targum and Rashi both say true, the same thing. The Targum says, he ate from his hunting, and he thought that there's Kedusha there. And Rashi says that he fooled his father, because he brought him food which Yankov prepared. So then the truth came to the surface. So Yitzchak said, Gam Baruch Yeh, Yankov deserves the brachas, and righteously he has earned and accepted them. So I'll finish off with a little story which emphasizes the point I brought out. There was a big Rebbe living about 150 years ago, Chatzkel Kuzmel, and Chassidim came to him for Shabbos, And one of the big Rabbanim came to him for Yom Tov, and it was Shabbos then, and cholent was served. And the cholent was so delicious, and this Rav felt he never ate such good cholent yet. So after Shabbos, he just mobilized his guts, and he went into the Rebbetzin and said, "Please, Rebbetzin, can you give me the recipe for this cholent? My wife should make me the same cholent." She says, "Sure." And she gave him the recipe. He gives the recipe to his wife, and his wife makes the cholent. It wasn't that cholent, it was plain cholent, like what the housewives make. She says the Rebbetzin withheld a certain ingredient, a secret ingredient she didn't tell me, which makes the cholent so delicious. Next time he was in Kuzmer, he came in again to the Rebbetzin and says, "Rebbetzin, my wife followed your recipe, and it wasn't the same cholent. Something is missing there." So she says, "Indeed, something is missing. You know what's missing? Every Friday, my husband, the tzaddik, comes into the kitchen, takes a handful of beans, throws it into the pot, and says, 'L'kavod Shabbos Kodesh.' That you don't have. My husband's L'kavod Shabbos Kodesh. This is the ingredient that made the cholent so good. And that's what the tzaddikim tastes. And that's what they enjoy. A good Shabbos."